Hey, everybody. We're just about ready to get started. And I can't quite see if everybody who's on right now. I'm wondering if Ed Gladney is on, if Gary is on, if Dallas is on. Okay. And how about Dallas and Ed?
Yep, I'm on.
Okay, great. Hi,
Yeah.
Dallas. And everybody should be looking at my Lee Nielsen hand plane there on the screen, the presentation.
Show
I'm quite proud of those shavings. I don't know about you guys, but there's something very therapeutic about those shavings.
They certainly look thin.
I would agree with that.
And I actually hand painted that myself, right? Do you guys believe that?
Say that again.
I said I hand painted that. That's a hand painting you're looking at?
Oh, cool.
No, it's not.
Oh,
believe me.
Shavings as well. You need to get those shavings a little thinner.
It's a really cool, I even forgot, Mike McKelney showed that app to me. And you can take pictures and put all kinds of filters on them and it turns them into those really cool images. You can put backgrounds on them. I'm curious, Mike, are you on the call? If you are, can you unmute and just say hello? Mike McKelney.
Howdy, Mike McKelney here by gum.
There he is. Hi, Mike.
That's right. What's up?
And guys, you know, in general, if you got background noise and things like that, it'd be great to mute. But if not, you know, a little back and forth chatter is fine. So, you know, this is just a bunch of friends getting together and sharing. It looks like my presentation just went away. Can you guys still hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
I can hear you.
Oh, there it is. I needed to click on it. That helps. All right. So it's 7:01. We're going to get started for our first general meeting. And the agenda, I've got quite a long agenda, but we're going to try to blow through these things in a timely manner and get on to the presentation. But I'm very happy to be here as your new president, figuring things out and starting to work with people and having a great time. I'm going to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about myself. Ed's going to provide a quick design of wood update. And then Gary's going to tell us about the holiday gift sale and just getting things going for that. Dallas is going to let us know what's up with the shop 3.0. I'm going to talk a bit about some priorities. These are a list of priorities that I determined and, you know, that seem to have some backing. You know, these aren't set in stone. I kind of see priorities as things where energy gets put behind them and people get involved and we make things happen. So there's always some flux in there. I'm starting something new for the general meeting, a volunteer spotlight to talk about some volunteers. It's dangerous because we have so many of them and I hope nobody feels left out, but I think it's very important and I'm very appreciative. We have a raffle. Jim Strawn, I assume you're on the line. If so, can you say hello? Okay, he's either muted or he'll be joining us, and then we'll start the presentation. So, the first thing about me, briefly, I have a background in IT. I did some programming, project management, business and systems analysis. So I'm an IT guy. I'm still working. I do part-time consulting, which is getting more and more close to full-time. Unfortunately, but right now it's still working for me. So I do that. I'm a very focused individual, very hands-on. I like figuring things out. I like working alongside of people and collaborating. That's my style. And I'm kind of like a bulldog sometimes with a bone. So hopefully I don't bowl anybody over, but I really love getting things done. I say, I'm not sure if I'm an intermediate woodworker. I'm not certainly not a veteran, a seasoned pro by any means, but I started woodworking about 20 years ago when I took a Palomar class, the first class, and I got excited, and then I had a big lull because of time, money, and space, and I didn't do a whole lot. But as I neared retirement, I discovered the wood shop here, the member shop, and that was a godsend for me. So I started jumping in and started learning a lot and getting my skill built up. And so I'm on the learning side of things. I'm by no means a seasoned veteran woodworker. I consider myself a people person. I love people. I love getting together. I love meeting people. I love networking. And, there's a lot of folks, but I want to meet as many of you personally and become friends and sit down and brainstorm together. And I really enjoy that aspect of the social connections within any organization and with my friends. And I'm very excited to be the president. So that's a little bit about me. And Ed, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
hear me?
wonderful. So yes, we can. So it's going to give us a quick update on design in wood. I have a picture here of the gallery. I think everybody's seen the gallery, Design in Wood Gallery. Travis and a team of people worked last year to get this in place. But I'm just still amazed. So I wanted to put the picture there again. And obviously, anybody who needs inspiration should just click through that. And I send the public, my friends and people that are interested in woodworking, I send them over here to this as well and have them look through that. And rightly so, people are just simply amazed at the work that the quality of work that are in the entries. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ed, and you can go ahead and give us an update.
Good. Good evening, everybody. I assume that you can hear me. Just want to say a few words about the Design in Wood show. This year, I'm pleased to tell you that we will have a show given the COVID situation. That's the good news. The not so good news is that the fairgrounds are in dire straits still. They do not have a lot of employees. So the fair, and they're going forward with a fair. The dates have been set, and you all have been notified of that. And it's also on their website. It's going to be June 8th through July 4th. But before I get into that, just let's say a few words about the fair itself. Jeff and Dale and myself are going to have a meeting tomorrow with the people at the fair that are putting this fair on. And we've been told repeatedly that they are starting from scratch. It's just, they're not assuming that anything is going to be available. So what does that mean for us? Well, we have 3 trailers, semi-trailers full of equipment that have to be unpacked, and that's our setup for the Design in Wood show. So I may be calling on people in the association that have a lot more muscle than I do to make this happen. We won't know until we get closer to the time for the fair, but that time, by the way, is going to be May 15th. Sunday, we'll start setting up and unloading the trucks. That also bodes well for the rest of the fair, the rest of the things that are happening. So I may need people to come in and clerk for the judging. I think those are the 2 main areas that we're dealt with right now, but everything is on a new footing. So as we get closer to the fair or run through the time, we'll find out what's the fair can do and what we can do. The entries, the entry form should be up by the end of this month. And entries should be start taking in February. But the deadline for entries is April 29th. We're going to set up on the 15th of May. And that should give us enough time to get everything ready and to go forward on June 8th. So unless anybody has any real questions, I hope I could answer. That's all I have to say about it right now. Hopefully we'll have more news next month after we meet with the fair associates tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Ed.
Hey.
Does anybody have a quick question for Ed? Or are we good?
Okay, thank you very
Okay.
much.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Ed. All right. Let's see here. Next, Gary, you're up for holiday gift sale.
Thank you and good evening, everybody, and a belated Happy New Year. As Jeff mentioned, what I'd like to do is just spend the next couple of minutes kind of updating you on the holiday gift sale, more affectionately known by most of us as HGS. But most importantly, to invite you to participate in this year's holiday gift sale if you are not already involved. And as I scan through all the participants, a number of you are, but we still haven't reached a few of you, and we just want to let you know you're missing out and want to make sure you feel welcome and invited to join us. What you probably know by now about the holiday gift sale is it's the club's only fundraiser. We had a very successful year last year. In November, we sold some $30,000 worth of gift items that have been made by our members and made a huge contribution to the SDFWA treasury. What you may not know is the other reason we started the holiday gift sale was to bring members together. And if you've ever come into the shop on a Friday for one of our builds, you pick up very quickly on the fact that it's been very effective at doing just that. And we have a great number of people now that are involved in the thing, have a lot of fun doing it, and have made it very successful by creating a lot of things that we can turn around and sell. So we want to continue to build on that. The sale will be again in November this year. 18th and 19th of November are the dates. There's a number of ways you can help. You can make things in your own shop and bring them in and donate them to us to sell at the sale. But we'd also like to invite you to come into the shop on Fridays. Every other Friday we meet in the morning, and the Fridays in between we meet in the evening. Now we've started an evening session for those of you that work or it's not convenient to attend during the day. And we'd love to have you be part of the effort. If you don't know what to build, we'll be happy to give you some ideas. We'll be happy to supply you with plans and materials if you need them. We just want you to get involved and have some fun and join us. I got a call the other day from Jim Franz, who a lot of you know, and he's been one of our supporters of the holiday gift sale for some time. And he's off to a flying start this year. The other thing that I need to point out is because we had such a successful sale, the good news is we made a lot of money. The bad news is we sold everything we had virtually. So we're starting from scratch and we got a lot of work to do. A lot of things need to be made between now and then. And a couple of them, Jim Franz called the other day and he's already made 2 bowls and 4 boxes. He asked me to come by and pick them up. And I swung by and I had to show a couple of them. This segmented bowl that he made is absolutely gorgeous. I wish you could see it in person. Those joints, every one of them is perfect and airtight. And the box is a very attractive box, and he made 4 other items as well. So he's been a big contributor, and I don't want anybody to be cowed by that. That's not the typical donation or contribution of our members. A bunch of us got together Friday night and made 35 pair of toaster tongs, which is probably a more typical donation. But in any case, we'd sure love to have you be part of it. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and we look forward to seeing you in the shop and at the sale.
All right, thank you, Gary. Is Jim on the call? Are you there, Jim?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh,
Oh,
good
that no,
evening.
yeah, Jim
Yeah.
Strawn. I was actually referring to Jim Franz, but
Okay, go ahead.
hi,
I'll
Jim.
wait. I'll wait.
That's fine too.
Do you want me to
Well,
go?
I was just gonna, if Jim Franz is on the line, I was just gonna say thank you, and also I'm gonna hit him up for some mentoring on boxes at some time, at some point.
Good choice.
Absolutely. I see we in the chat, we did have a question from Lindsay. Thank you, Lindsay, for chiming in. She was wondering, who she should contact if she wanted to help with design of wood. And Nancy, Ed, you're going to be putting out call for help in the future. But in the meantime, I think, Lindsay, if you want the info that on the website at the bottom of each page is an info email. If you like, at this point in time, you're welcome to send something to that and I can forward it on to Ed. But he'll be coordinating more volunteer efforts at a later date as well.
You can also email me, Jeff. So
Okay.
my information is on the website under Design of
Yeah.
Wood.
Okay, great. Yeah, and Gary, also in the chat, it says, we're grateful that you added Friday evenings for the holiday gift sale. And I think that's terrific. That was a great improvement there as well. Okay, so we're going to move on now. And now we have a shop update. Here's our shop. Oh, no, that's not our shop.
Give me a
That's
thought I
break.
was-
Travis's shop.
Give me a-
I was
That's my
looking
shop.
for a picture. I was trying to get a picture of our shop off of the website. I couldn't find one quickly. So I decided to throw up a contrasting picture so that we could all be to help perspective how wonderful our shop really is. So there's your contrast picture, and that is not our shop. So Dallas, why don't you go ahead and take it away on the update?
It's way too neat for our shop.
I'm glad you clarified that. Before I go into shop 3.0, I want to just remind everyone that our normal eye opener that would have happened this coming Saturday morning at the shop has been canceled. We've done that for COVID mitigation. Just too many people in a small space given the current situation. We put that information out a few different ways, but we just don't want anybody to show up expecting there's going to be an eye opener on Saturday morning. Shop 3.0. Boy, am I excited about this. This is something that's going to be a big improvement for our shop. It's amazing what we have already. When we opened the shop, well, it's been 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago now, is when we started doing the build out. When I say we, I'm really talking about Barry and Pete's leadership there and Jeff and others. But we've started then 4.5 years ago with 125 members and a very impressive shop. Now we've expanded once. We're up to 375 members, and the shop's just a beehive of activity. We just have to go through a lot of exercises to find time and space to be able to book the next event. So the additional space we're adding is going to be a welcome addition. We are picking up the second floor where Atlas was before. For those of you who've been over there before, that's about 1,200 and plus 12 to 1,300 square feet we're picking up. And we expect that we will be building on that before too long, or at least we're hopeful. Let me just tell you what's happening with that, though. We have the plans in the architect's hands, and they will soon be filing for permits. They'll get that process started. That's a big variable, and that's kind of a bummer. It's the same thing I heard Gary talking about 5 years ago, about how long it takes the city of San Diego to get permits through. We're hearing numbers anywhere from 3 to 4 months. I truly hope that's not the case, but I'm afraid we're going to have to face hard facts, and that may very well be the case. So we'll be deciding how we best use the space in between that time. But in the meantime, we'll be pressing forward, trying to get our plan approved. Basically, what we're going to be doing, our plan is that we're going to expand to the second floor. And with that second floor expansion, we'll move the lasers and digital tools upstairs, includes the 3D printers. And the 3D printers will be upstairs. And we'll have a nice class, be larger, much larger than the current one. I should have looked and given the exact square footage, but it'll be a significant improvement in size. Nice space up there too. If you haven't been up to take a look at it, I urge you to do so. Got several windows with cross breeze because it's in the corner. That's going to make a huge difference. That's all going to be wonderful thing. So it'll be 3 phases. As soon as we get our permits approved, we will first remodel the upstairs space. We'll move our lasers and classroom up there. And then we plan to move the bench room to the current digital tools classroom, office, reception area space. We're going to have a much larger, nicer bench room there. That'll be a huge advantage to us. And then lastly, we will be expanding our machine room. The machine room will be going into, we will take out that tall wall, and we will be adding another, I believe the number is about 500 square feet in that space. We'll be adding another 500 square foot of machine space. All this is going to be really valuable space. I want to shout out to Rick Van Hatten, who's leading the project. Rick's our shop director, building and equipment, and he's been leading the effort. He's had a team of folks working on it. Elizabeth Ralton has done so much work to bring our plans to the point we are now. Saved us a lot of money and came up with some great designs. So I think we've got a lot to look forward to. We can be so proud of what we have. It'll be exciting to see what the shop is afterwards, and it will offer us many more opportunities. I just want to take one last point just to tell you what a couple of those are. First of all, we will have space for a few more pieces of equipment, and one of those pieces of equipment that we fully intend to buy is one of the Pegasus scroll bandsaw. Many of you have asked about getting that into the shop. If you remember one of our general membership meetings last year, I believe it was, when we had the puzzle box maker, he demonstrated that thing. Since that time, some of our members have purchased them, and many of our shop members have wanted to have it. In addition, we will have more bench space, and we will be able to spread out a little bit, so we have more space to work. That's right now it's a little tight, and having that additional space in the machine room will be a big bonus. So with that, Jeff, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you much for the update. All right, now, so a little bit about some of the priorities we want to focus on. Obviously, Shop 3.0 is continuing. What's not on this slide is all the general meeting stuff that we do, design of wood and running the shop and the general meetings. So that goes without saying. That's just the top priority. But one of the things we're really focusing on as well is audio video capabilities. And now that we're doing hybrid meetings, an all in-person meeting is easy to do. A all Zoom meeting is a little easier. It's pretty easy to do. hybrid meetings we've been challenged with. And so we realized that we really need to up our audio and video capabilities in order to do that. So we are really working hard to improve that. And these capabilities can be used for many different things, not just our meetings. So Jeff and I and actually a team of folks have been doing a lot of work. And I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Brat to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing in that space. And then I'm going to continue talking about the other things.
Okay, can you hear me? All right. We're getting a little taste of some extra audio video equipment. We hope this Zoom meeting, general meeting comes off better than we have in the past. We know we need to up our game, as Jeff R. said. We've been talking with Alex Tamayo, who did our video at the seminars, and the Turners and another Turner group, and we've been consulting and watching YouTube videos, and we've got some pretty exciting, pretty good capabilities coming our way. So we can present a good hybrid general meeting. We can focus on demonstrations for the general meetings, both over Zoom and for people in the hall. We can have international or national woodworkers come in and do demonstrations at the shop. And we should be able to use it to produce videos, promotional videos for SDFWA. We're consolidating around what we want, and it's coming up pretty quickly. We're going to do a presentation to the board in the next couple of weeks of what we want to do, and we're all excited. Whole team of people ready to move forward on that.
And as Jeff and I mentioned, can you? I'm getting a lot of echo here. Okay. As we mentioned, it's a group of people coming together, so I'm very excited about having people come together and help. So the teamwork has been terrific, and we're excited about teamwork in everything. Oops, I'm going to go back. So general meeting improvements. So as we mentioned, the video capabilities are a big part of that. And, we've been concerned about just dropping attendance. And it's kind of hard to say exactly why that is. We have some ideas, but, COVID, I think the whole world has a COVID hangover. So, that is certainly part of the mix. But we're very interested in making our general meetings more beneficial to our members. And I know we have really multiple groups of people, but if you want to think about it, we have two major audiences. One are the legacy elite woodworkers that have a lot of experience and been involved. And I think they see the presenters more as peers. And then you have the up and coming people that are learning woodworking, and I would put myself in that category. And while we're both inspired by the presentation, sometimes we're kind of discouraged because it's so far over our head. At least I'm speaking for myself, and I know some other people. So I think a big challenge is going to be figuring out how to make those meetings beneficial to a broader, more diverse audience in terms of, at least in terms of experience level. So, we had some things going on with breakout sessions before the meeting and things like that. And we want to look at all of those type of things. We want to make them fun. Sometimes we've had food. I think that was great every now and then. And so just, all kinds of improvements that we can make. And of course, the people that we want to talk to find out why they're not there are not there. So we have a big challenge on our hands to try to communicate with folks that aren't there and to find out why and what they're looking for. So that is a big priority for me, and we need to figure that out. And also the mentor program. Mentoring is definitely happening already in different ways, shapes, and forms. We've had a legacy mentoring program. I think what we want to do is put that under kind of more of a formal umbrella. It can be many different things with different people doing things different ways, but I want to get it under an umbrella program so that, we can bring visibility and recognition to that and promote it and work on that. Community outreach is much the same sort of thing. We have the toy program. We have Mike McKelney's done a tremendous amount of work. We have other people that have come together. And I do really see an opportunity once again to put that under an umbrella, not to stymie or control things that are happening, but just to better manage opportunities that come to our attention. as an association and a community outreach group, and also to bring visibility and recognition to them as well. I think there's a great opportunity in the community outreach to kind of also treat that as sort of a mentoring opportunity as well, just like any of the holiday gift sale builds and things like that. Process improvements is what I refer to as just the way we do things internally, all of the, the volunteer functions, and just looking at how we can streamline things, make that easier, more efficient. And I think it's important so that we don't burn our people out, and also to be able to attract other volunteers that are willing to help. So the better and smoother and more efficiently that we can do things and organize ourselves, it's just going to help everybody all around. The website improvements, we just want to make sure that we're controlling our website and taking care of it, that security and stability, and maximize the usefulness to members as well as the outside community. So that's something as well. Volunteer appreciation is something that I really want to focus on. We don't have an organization without volunteers, and I think everybody knows it. But I'm just in awe of all the great people that make this organization what it is, and I want to make sure people know that they're recognized and appreciated. And then events as well. We've got a number of things. In the past we've had field trips and shop tours. Falls under that. We kind of had to stop looking at our 40-year celebration. So I think we want to look at all of those things. I would love it if we could look at something like social events, ways to connect members in what we're doing and in the association, maybe an annual barbecue or picnic, something like that, and just other ways to get people together, just to kind of help with all of the social aspect of that. And I do want to point out that you see those asterisks. Since I sent out, this is somewhat of a repeat of what I sent out in the president's message and in the newsletter. I talked about it in the board meeting, the January board meeting. All those asterisks, we have been getting tremendous amount of responses from people that have sent emails in and contacted us. Those are all areas where people have stepped up and said, I want to volunteer and help out in these areas. The audio, video, general meeting improvements, the mentorship, the community outreach, both people that are already in the association and people that are just new people that have joined very recently. So we're really excited and about the people reaching out, and excited to be moving forward with those teams. I am going to be organizing all the folks that are reaching out and these things. I really want to work alongside with folks that want to run with these areas of the organization, and just enable you people that want to run with it and work alongside you to get these things launched. Now, our volunteer spotlight, a membership process. We have been moving, it started last year. There was, and we've been starting to run with a new membership process. And the process is using a single system punch pass. Some of the key benefits are automated renewals and the ability to pay with a credit card. It's been a rough transition, and there's been a lot of concern, but we are working through those things. Some of those are vendor related and so on. But I want you to know that we're smoothing those things out. As a quick update, we expect within a couple of weeks to manage all the backlog of generating the cards and sending out the membership cards. We're behind on that because it's a transition process, and we had some issues with the vendor in payment processing. But we expect shortly to be fully caught up with everybody who's paid for their renewal or their new membership. Brian has been sending the cards out. He'll be processing another batch. And then after we catch up, which, like I said, we hope to be within a couple of weeks, then on a weekly cadence, anybody who joins the membership, or for anybody who's behind on paying for the renewal of an existing membership, we will be working on a weekly cadence to get the cards printed and in the mail. So from the time you pay, we expect probably be at the outside, depending on the timing of how we process things, a maximum of about 2 weeks from the time you renew or that you pay for your renewal. So we expect to be this probably could have been better. Hear me? I just got a message. Can you guys hear me?
We can now. You blacked out for a few seconds.
Okay. Those will now be used. Okay, very good. Excuse me. So anyway, all to say that we're getting it together, and we apologize for the inconvenience, and we thank you for your patience. I want to call out Brian and Dara, and also Marlo. He's actually worked a lot on this last year, and he's since moved out of the area, and he's not a member anymore. But these guys, you know, we process like 800 to 900 renewals and applications a year. That means that the cards have to get printed, the data has to be collected, the payment has to be processed, the cards are printed, they have to be laminated, they have to be cut up. And before we used to go to distribute a lot of cards at the meeting, but with COVID now, we're stuffing envelopes. So it's a lot of work. And I think these guys both deserve a lot of credit, and that's why I'm including them in my member spotlight. And I also want to know that this is going to be a regular thing, but there's a lot of other things going on, and they came up because I know it's been an issue of late, and I wanted to make sure everybody knew that they've been working hard, and even though it's a challenging transition, they deserve a lot of recognition. So thank you so much, Dara and Brian. And for the raffle. So Jim, go ahead and take it away.
Good evening. Can you guys all hear me? I'm here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to explain I'm taking the raffle names off the list of participants. Some of them aren't complete. I just have numbers on some of them. I have first names on others, but my wife made the selection, and tonight's winner is Sharon. Okay, Sharon, if you're out there, contact me and we'll make arrangements to get your hand plane to you. That's all I have.
Sharon, if you're on the line, you should be in the meeting. Can you unmute and say hello?
Okay, I am here.
Okay, and
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I think I'm the only Sharon.
You're the only Sharon. You're the one I was thinking of. And I'll leave it. Well, call me or I'll call you, and we'll make arrangements that I can drop it off. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I think
all
it
right,
should be
congratulations.
recognized. I was going to jump in all for a second. Sharon organized a wonderful cleaning on Tuesday at the shop. So we had a lot of worker bees there just sucking up a lot of dust and sawdust. So she's a heavy hitter and just, well, she's nice about it, but she's mean.
Well, that was so our shop wouldn't look like the picture.
Well, wonderful. I forgot. I wanted to mention I do have a new requirement for this whole raffle process. I am going to require going forward that the winners show massive enthusiasm and excitement for winning. I'm talking game show style. Okay. So anyway, that's my request. And Sharon, you did a good job. I'm not picking on you, but that's one process improvement that I wanted to make. All right. So next we are ready for our presentation. And just so you guys know, we had a group of people coming together to get the audio and video capabilities together so that we could do a good job. We've got Russ meeting in the shop and the team meeting in the shop so that we could control that. This is not the end result of our video capabilities. It's kind of a stopgap, an interim solution, but we're doing our best, and we think that the quality of the video is going to be better than we experienced in our last hybrid meeting. And I just wanted you to know that. So Russ Filbeck, I think everybody knows Russ. He's well known for his chair making. He's done instruction at Palomar College. He's just a legend. He's written a book, and I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to the team with the camera. They're going to take control of the meeting. And Russ, you could introduce yourself if you want, additionally, more than what I said. And we'll just turn it over to that side of the house and get going with the presentation.
Very good. I just had this microphone muted while everyone else was talking. So, well, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about bent lamination, which is what the topic was requested. And so, to start off, I'm sitting in one of my rocking chairs, and it incorporates steam bending as well as bent lamination. And so if you can't steam bend something, you can certainly use bent lamination to create whatever project it is that you would like to do. The tightness of the radius certainly will dictate what steam bending can do. And if the radius is too tight, then bent lamination will allow you to overcome that problem by making the laminates thinner, and we'll talk about that more. But as you can see, this rocking chair has steam bent back legs and slats, but the rockers are bent lamination. And I learned to do this process from Sam Aloof back in 1982 or 83. And I've been using that ever since for the rockers. And Sam and anyone else that would ever have attempted to use steam bent rockers would have learned fairly quickly that spring back causes them to have slightly differing radiuses. And as a result, the chair would have a slight wave action feel if you use steam bent rockers. So bent lamination using 7 layers of laminates, which is 6 glue lines, will have 0 spring back, and you'll get perfect straight rocking motion without any wave action at all. So that's a very important reason for having the bent lamination on the rockers. Now, the bending forms, I designed this particular bending form so that my laminates are up in the air and open to the air on both sides. And that way the glue cures very evenly. And that is very important. And I call that an open form, where it's open on both sides. A closed form would be where this might be laying flat on something and the bottom side, the glue does not get exposure to the air for the curing process. So that's why I have designed my bending forms standing up like this, and I added aluminum angles to give reference for the laminates. And when it comes to preparing the laminates, when I take a board, before I ever cut any of the strips, I put a big V mark across it, and then I start cutting the laminates, and that way I can keep them in order when I glue them back together. And this way, the rockers have absolute consistent color. You cannot tell that it's not a solid board, even to having the sapwood included in it. So I'm going to count out 7 of the laminates, and 7 is what I would want for the rocker. And then I would want 6 more for the landing pads. And the landing pads are where the leg lands on the rocker. There's a stack that's built up, and I will be showing you that process. But I will start off, this is the rocker that's been bent, and this would be the 6 laminates that will form the landing pads. And you can see the V mark across the landing pads and the rocker, so that again, those are kept in order, so that as this gets glued up, the grain continues through the rocker right up to the leg of the chair. Now these haven't been glued on yet. This set has been glued on, and then a lot of sculpting and shaping will be done from this point. And this would be a completed rocker. Unfortunately, this one happens to be from a bad accident that one of my chairs was in and got destroyed. And so I kept parts of it just so that I would be able to have a demonstration model like this. So there was a lot of material that was sculpted away from the landing pads that were added on. And that's why I need that extra material to build up. And Sam Maloof created that. And of course, he learned much of what he did in his design style from Hans Wegner, just a fabulous Danish furniture designer and builder. And so that's where you get this kind of modern Danish look in Sam Maloof, and even in this Appalachian ladderback rocking chair.
Hey, Russ?
Yes.
We have a question. What type of glue do you use?
Haven't gotten to that point, but we will do that. And
Okay.
let me just finish talking about preparing the bending form, and then we'll
Okay.
talk about the glues.
Thank you.
You bet. Now, when it comes to gluing up the rockers, I'm not going to be gluing up tonight because the temperature is just too low. I would like to have it 70 degrees in order to use the urea formaldehyde glues, or most of the glues should be about 70 degrees. But particularly the urea formaldehyde glue that I like to use in bent lamination. And so before I would do that, I would like to take paste wax and wax my bending forms and the cauls, which will compress the laminates. I'd like to wax those so that the glue doesn't stick to the bending form. So that's always an important thing to remember when you're doing bent lamination work. The glues, the one that I prefer is the urea formaldehyde glue, and in this case, It's known as Unibond 800, and you can certainly get that from Vacuum Press Company back in Maine, and Vacuum Clamp. I don't know if they still are here up in Oceanside, but they had a glue similar to this, and that was that resin type glue with the powder to 2-part glue is my favorite type of a glue for bent lamination. You follow the instructions for measuring out the powder with measuring spoons and measuring cups to get your ratios correct. You possibly even will use some type of a scale for weighing them. Once you become familiar with the amount of powder to resin, you'll be able to just pour your resin into a container and sprinkle on the powder and just mix it up thoroughly. And then you can use a roller to roll on the glue, and that's the sequence that I go through. Another type of glue that's a powder that you just add water is the weldwood plastic resin. And you may find that some of these glues are no longer available in Southern California. We've lost many products just because of the Air Pollution Control District restrictions and rules. And even this one, you may have to order it from out of state, but you can get it. This regular yellow glue will work on these rockers because this is a 40-inch radius. And that's not a really tight radius where I have to worry a lot about what I call creep. Whereas after they're bent, yellow glue and white glue is known as a semi-rigid glue that never cures rock hard like these two glues. These glues cure rock hard just like epoxy. And I use epoxy for teak and cocobolo, those really oily woods. I have found that there's no other glue that will bond those, and even those two glues, cocobolo, can still fail. It's just difficult to glue oily woods like teak and cocobolo. But the yellow glue will work because it's not an extremely tight radius. Let me just demonstrate how I would prepare the laminates. I would have the laminates laid out so that I can roll the glue on both surfaces, on both sides. I don't pretend to think that I will get adequate transfer from one to the other if I only put glue on one and stick another piece of wood next to it. I roll both of them and just have the surface fully wetted. And again, with practice, a little bit of experience, you will learn to recognize whether you have too much and whether it's just about right so that it's not running all over the place once you put clamping pressure on it. And certainly there will be glue running down the sides of my bending form a little bit, but as long as it's not just running and dripping all over the place, I don't mind having a little bead of squeeze out on every one of these laminates. Then I know that I had enough.
What's the thickness of your plywood?
The laminates will be cut to the thickness in which they will bend in the radius. And it's an excellent question because you have designed your rocker. And of course, in this case, the radius for this rocker is 40 inches. And that's just been determined from decades, maybe even centuries, of people making rocking chairs and knowing whether they rock too fast or if you have to push to get it to rock. If it's too flat, you have to work to make it rock. But if it's just right, it just takes the slightest bit of upper body motion and the chair moves smoothly for you. So to be able to bend one laminate in this form without it breaking is my rule of thumb for how thick it needs to be. If it breaks, it was too thick and I need to make it thinner. And once I have determined the thickness, then I need to know how thick I want the rocker to be. And that determines how many laminates I need. And so with 7 laminates, I will be able to glue up one rocker. And I have to look at my V marks that I have placed on these laminates and the V marks on these 6, which will become the landing pads. They have to become the top part of this rocker. It just so happens the way I designed this bending form that the top of it is going to be on the bottom side here. So the 6 laminates need to be the ones that go on the bottom. And so I need 7 of them here, and the other 6 will go down below. So these 6 will be the landing pads that get glued on later, like this, so that they line up. So I have to compress these laminates uniformly after I put the glue on. And I have designed cauls that will compress a portion of these laminates. And so when you design a bending form that's doing bent lamination, you have to account for this thickness, and you have to determine this radius for the bending form, and then you have the thickness of the part that you're bending, and then this radius. So if this happens to be a 40-inch radius, and this is, we'll just say 1 1/4 inches thick, what would this one be? It's going to be a little larger. It's going to be 1 1/4 inches larger. So I guess it would be 41 1/4 inch radius on this, in order to have perfect contact for even compression when I put the clamps on. So I'm going to make sure that it's going to fit within my form. I'll put a clamp in the middle and start bringing it down. You'll notice that I have 15 holes in this bending form, and therefore I need 15 clamps. And the reason for 15 is what I call vector forces. It's the clamp pressure that gets transmitted from this clamp head through these laminates. It goes out at a 90-degree angle, 45 degrees this way and 45 this way, going through those laminates. And so I want this one to overlap with the forces from this one and so on through all of those clamps. So that's why the spacing is such on those, all those clamps. And so now I would have another clamp on this side I do alternate one on each side. And when I've got glue on these laminates, they can kind of squirm around and be misaligned. And so I usually like to have some little, just a 1/4-inch pieces of plywood that allow me to squeeze all of these laminates up against these aluminum angles. And I have another one here, and I would put one on each side, and that'll draw all the laminates up against the aluminum angles and register them so that the rocker, it's all going to be as straight as possible and the least cleanup possible after this is glued up. I obviously have to clean this up and clean all the glue off. And the straighter it is and cleaner, the easier it will be to clean up. So I will continue installing the clamps. You can see I stick a few clamps on each end of my bending form so I can grab one in each direction. Now I have a call that continues on. Now that I have clamp pressure here, I can remove this pad and this pad, and I can go to my next call, which will pull this portion down. I've got one radius running all the way to this point, and then this rocker reverses direction. And when I first met Brian Boggs and learned to make the ladder back chairs from him, his rocker on his chair, still to this day, is very much like the shaker style rockers with a slot in the leg and a thin rocker that's cut out of a wide board to create the radius. And it works just fine. But when I saw the beautiful reversing curves on the back legs that he had designed, and I'd already made a Maloof rocker several years earlier, and I knew how to do this, to me, it was just a perfect match. I had to join those rockers with that back leg. And so I told my wife, I said, well, I've got an Appalachian ladder back rocking chair, but I've got Maloof arms and Maloof rockers. And so she nicknamed it an Appaloofa. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I just look for the best features in ladder back chairs and Windsor chairs from the different regions, and I try to incorporate the best features, whether it be in the joinery or the beauty of the lines and the design, just to please my artistic view. And I encourage all of you to do the same. It's not that you have to design everything new yourself. I don't consider myself to be a great designer. I've just utilized what I've seen and watched other people do and admired their work and have tried to do my best to not disappoint them with what I've made from their work. So anyway, that's how I kind of view the design part of it. It's my interpretation. of Sam's work and Brian Boggs' work when it comes to this rocking chair.
Another question, Russ.
Yes.
How did you cut? What machines did you use to cut the laminate?
Excellent question of what machines do I use? Well, obviously, I take that wide board that I've just marked my V across. And once I've determined that laminate thickness, what it needs to be, then I set up on my bandsaw to cut these as close as possible and still leave enough to go through my little Performax wide belt sander and sand these each to 3/16. And so that's where all of these wind up at, is 3/16. And so whatever 7 of them is, that's how thick my rocker is. And you all can calculate that out. So I would bring this on down, and again, I will alternate the clamps. And I made small little recesses in each of the cauls so that my clamps have a little pocket to drop into, and it keeps them in place and they're not skating all over the place. I even cut a little piece of 220 wet and dry abrasive and stuck down in the bottom of them so that the little steel pad grips that and the little pad's not spinning around while you're trying to operate the clamp. And so on the other end, I would use the same process to bring this end of the laminates down to the form. And I think that's probably enough for you to see the process. And all of these glues, the yellow glue, the urea formaldehyde, the weldwood plastic resin, they all need 12 to 24 hours, you know, just to be on the safe side. I'll leave them in their form for 24 hours. And so that's how I make up a rocker. And then after it comes out of that bending form, then I will take these 6 landing pad strips that match this piece. And I'll locate where they need to be cut off. And it always pains me, but this material and this material, for the most part, winds up as scrap pieces that rarely ever get used. I mean, they could be glued together to make something, but I usually wind up drowning in leftover pieces like that. That's always frustrating to me, to have wastefulness. And that's what always frustrated me so much about building a Maloof style rocker. It was just so many odd shaped pieces left from cutting things out from patterns rather than doing the steam bent back legs and the slats. But in order to have the beauty of this combination, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of material on that rocker to have the long reversing curves match each other. The same with the arm. There's quite a lot of waste in cutting out this arm from an 8/4 piece of wood. But again, I just love the look of it, the comfort, the feel. And so at some point, you decide what you're willing to sacrifice and not lose sleep over it.
So what's the working time, open working time of the glue?
Both the urea formaldehyde glue and the weldwood, they're about 20 to 30 minutes once you mix it up. In reality, the yellow glue is not any more than that either. When it's tacking up, and you need to get it rolled on and get the pieces on and under clamp and squeeze out the excess before it starts gelling up. So pretty much 30 minutes, I would say, so having everything organized, go through a dry run, just like I've done here, clamping everything up, being satisfied you have the right number of clamps. Everything went very well. At that point, now you can start your glue up. But until you're really comfortable with it, don't proceed with the glue up.
Russ, are your landing pads bent too?
Yes, I did not bring there is a space in here because this rocker is curved and these are straight. And so I have a short caul that gets clamped on here and squeezes this down to the rocker itself. And so the rocker becomes the form that the landing pad is being squeezed to. And so, yes, excellent question. I just forgot to bring that little caul. But here you can see the curvature on these landing pads from where they were squeezed down.
Do you ever use cellophane to control the squeeze out or keep it from getting all over the place?
I have not used cellophane. However, there is, and I was going to talk about this a little later, but right now is just fine. If you want to do some free-form type bent lamination using the stretch wrap material that we use today, if you cut very thin strips, and these are almost veneer thickness, but I cut them on the bandsaw and sanded them, and I don't know how many's here, but they were kept in order. There's my marks, my V mark across that, but then I wrap, after the glue is applied, I immediately wrap it in the stretch wrap. And now I can twist it, I can bend it like this, and all these pieces can be bent into some unusual shapes. And then you could clamp them in a jig while the glue sets. Joanne and Marty, two women that were students of mine at Palomar College, in the bending class and the chair classes, decided they wanted to build a double settee, but and it's made of cherry and the seat's upholstered and maybe the back, but the front leg, the arm going up and across the crest rail and back down the other side was all done very similar to this, where this is the front leg coming up from the floor. You would have gone like this, and then it would have twisted around to make the crest rail. And so it's just a way in which to have something that's free form. Just experiment, try stuff. Let's move on to the next project. If there are other questions, by all means ask. Now, in my book, Making Ladder Back Chairs with Russ Filbeck, in the rocking chair section, everything that I just talked about, how to build this bending form, everything is right here. And in the back of the book are all of the patterns and plans for building all of my jigs, including this bending form. So it's all here in my book, and that's available on my website. This bending form is designed to make serving trays. And I apologize, I got a cramp. These laminates are bent around this form, and you can do both ends on the same bending form, plus the handles for the serving tray also have their own bending form right here on this piece of melamine. Now, this is what I do not care for, and that is a closed form where this piece would be glued up with this touching this solid material, and no air can get to the backside of those laminates. And if you have this style of a bending form, you need to give it an extra day for curing, because the bottom side just won't cure as well. Drawing up a pattern and determining the radiuses for your bending form. The handles have a different radius because they're thinner and they're centered. So each item here has a different radius. Determining your joinery and having half flap joinery or what other style of joinery you might like. Having the bottom in a serving tray similar to this in bent lamination needs to be made of plywood, can be veneered, but you shouldn't use solid wood because the solid wood needs to expand and contract with ambient humidity changes. And this tray does not move. And so what's going to happen is if you use solid wood, it's going to buckle upwards or downwards, or something's going to give. So just like in drawers where you do not want to capture the drawer bottom, if it's solid wood, it needs to be able to expand and contract or use plywood materials. Each of the cauls that go with a portion of this bending form and each radius, I've just kept everything on this particular bending form together to make serving trays. And this is the pattern to make a bottom on the inside of one of those serving trays. So that's just another style of a project that you might want to consider. Anything that your mind can imagine, you should be able to create. When it comes to highly figured woods, in this case, piece of crotch grain walnut. This crotch grain material, if I were to bend this, it'll just crack somewhere. And for steam bending, that just would not work. And so on this chair, I really like having the crotch grain flame run all the way across the crest rail. And I know I can't steam bend that, it would fracture. So this crest rail has been cut into about 10 or 12 thin laminates and glued back together. And that's what these laminates are. And the figure is just amazing. And you just do not want it to fracture and be destroyed. So knowing about bent lamination gives you the ability to use that amazing piece of wood and not have it get destroyed. And then once you have all the laminates cut, then you need some type of a bending form in which to bend all of those laminates and allow the glue to cure. And in this case, it's a single radius instead of a reversing curve like the rockers on that rocking chair. Here is just a single radius. The same with that serving tray. That was just a single radius. So I can use a single caul to compress, but you'll notice that I do use these aluminum angles that register, and I can put my laminates slightly apart. My laminates can go straight across, and then I can start pulling the bending form together until it compresses. And I may have to have heavier duty clamps. There's another option, and that would be to cut this caul into 3 sections, or this piece into 3 sections, so that the center section pulls it down part way, and then you pull this end in and bring it down to where it's properly compressed, and then do this end. I have made all of the crest rails for the fan back Windsor chairs that I've done with this form, using just this process. But it does require a little bit stronger clamps than the little 6-inch bar clamps, just because it's got the single radius and I'm compressing this whole piece. And then once the glue is set up, and again, you can see that it's open to air underneath as well as on top by sitting on those aluminum angles, and it registers the laminate so that they're nice and straight. And then once I take it out of the bending form, I'll create a pattern that is the shape that I happen to like for the crest rail on a Windsor chair, and I can trace it out and do the cutting on the bandsaw after it's glued up. Trying to bend these laminates with any of these cutouts, trying to glue it up by cutting that out beforehand, I prefer not to attempt, because again, this can be pretty fragile, and having all of these stacked against each other, each one is supporting the one next to it. And that's what enables me to clamp them all up and have virtually no failure. And that's important to me, that I have that kind of success when I'm bending.
Can you talk about radius versus thickness of your laminate plies?
Well, again, yes, the radius versus the thickness goes back to, on the rocker, I said, I have to be able to bend one of them through the complete curvatures dry, all by itself. And once I've made it thin enough to bend without breaking, then I just need to make up enough of them to make the thickness of the part. So this particular laminate probably will bend without failing. So that one was cut and sanded to the thickness necessary. Now, if it was any thicker, it very well might break. And so that's how I arrive at. I don't have a magic number to give you, as it needs to be this thickness for this radius. Different species of wood are different. The straightness of the grain. That's one of the reasons I like to go to Pennsylvania to harvest my own trees, so that I can get a tree that's 100 feet tall, and the lower 20 to 40 feet of that tree is straight and free of branches. So I get this really nice straight grain for bending back legs without a lot of failure. But then when you come to a piece of wood like this, where the grain is all over the place, you have to have a different option. And that's where this bent lamination comes in, because there's no way I can do the steam bending on this. Plus, after you've done a few, you can use some really unusual woods like this black acacia, which grows here locally. These black acacia trees grew right down by the Naval Training Center and Liberty Station. And it's only here in Southern California that you can get that beautiful wood. So when you find something like that, figure out how to get the grain as straight as possible out of the boards that you have. And if it's a pretty exceptional piece, you may be willing to sacrifice some material to have the straighter grain, just for the parts that are going to be bent. For any of the parts like the rungs that are going to be turned or certainly not bent, they may have more flaws in them. You can see these rungs have knots in them, and there is no way that could function on a bent piece of wood. It would fail. So you learn to be very selective so that you can harvest out the parts and include the sapwood. These two arms have sapwood in it. All the slats have a little bit of sapwood right at the top edge. So don't shy away from incorporating sapwood into your pieces. Just as long as you look at it this way, where I had them be symmetrical, one on each side, or the top of each slat. It was all out of the same piece of wood, and therefore the grain matches perfect. And that little bit of sapwood is part of the natural look. And so it's, I guess that's the beauty of woodworking. It's never ending what you can learn. If you get tired of making chairs, you can certainly go into marquetry or turning or toy making. I mean, there's no end. So enjoy whatever it is that you're doing and do some experiment. Try some different things and give it a lot of thought, but then put your thoughts into action and make some. So I guess my parting piece of advice is, don't endure the drudgery of boredom or depression. Make something. Make it until you're happy with your craftsmanship, and then give that to somebody special as a gift. So it'll make your whole day. Thanks.
One last question.
Got another question?
Were the plans for the serving tray part of your book or not?
No. My Windsor chairs and this serving tray are not part of the plans for mine. This is simply a 6-inch radius, 12 inches in diameter. That was really difficult to create with it. But no, can be quite simple in the design part of it.
I'm just relaying questions.
Okay, no, I appreciate, yeah. And let's go ahead and open it up. If there are other questions, let's do that.
I've been asking them as they come along.
Okay, so
There's a thank you.
Well, I've enjoyed doing it for you. So I'm always happy to do this.
Russ, could I ask a question? Would you,
Yeah.
would you tell us about the process for preparing each of the little pieces? Do you cut them on the bandsaw and then band them in between,
They're
or?
not all shot.
I do about a 30-minute exercise routine every day so that I'm loose, limber, and all my joints are well lubricated, because I really like having Mother Nature or gravity be my extra pair of hands, because she holds everything down here for me. Nothing is falling, and so I really do like working right on the floor. Weaving my chair seats, everything I do on the floor. But I do it every day, so therefore that's why they stay pretty well lubricated.
Okay, so does anybody have any other questions? All right. So Russ, I just want to thank you. That was very entertaining. And we really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure, thank you.
All right.
Hey, Russ.
Okay, folks, I'm going to go ahead we're going to go ahead and end the meeting. And thanks everybody for attending. And we're looking forward to just getting back to normal. And looking forward to meeting everybody and working together and
I got the
getting
feeling
ideas and brainstorming.
me working on my knees, major knees hurt.
No, I just figured your brain. Sympathetic pain.
Yeah, it's something I just do.
Keep that.
Yeah, I do it all every day.